Okay, we're recording and we are so excited to be here with you all. So thanks for joining us and thanks for spending your evening doing something that is going to not only upgrade your life and make you a happier, healthier, better version of yourself, but everybody who comes after you for all future generations. So
yeah, this is really powerful stuff. Yeah, thank you. This is really powerful stuff that you're taking a stand for yourself and for your family, your friends, and future generations, because so often, the things that we're going to talk about tonight, we're not really taught in school. We're not really taught in family dynamics. And so we have a lot of things that we carry with us through our lifetime that feel like we just don't quite know the answer to, or quite how to change maybe the stress from them, or the uncertainty, or the anxiety. And so this is something that we always like to share with people, help them really understand some of the past generations and their relationship with them, and also how going forward inspiring the new generations.
So exciting.
This is good.
So good.
Yeah. I'm going to kick us off with a little bit of a prayer meditation. And nothing religious or dogmatic, just to inspire the energy, and whatever higher power you decide that you want to pray to is we're going to inspire that energy. So if you close your eyes, you bring your palms together or just your hands down to your knees, whatever feels good. God, I just want to thank you so much for bringing us all together here to be able to really feel the love, to take time to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to receive messages and guidance and divine guidance, to step into the healthiest, happiest versions of ourselves, and to create future generations to be the happiest, healthiest versions of themselves as well. And even though we know that life gets to be an interesting test sometimes we go through, we just ask that you continue to light our path and guide us on the path that allows us to release the struggle, the suffering, the stress, the fear, the uncertainty, by truly illuminating what it is we can do to just dissolve away those things that don't serve us, to dissolve away the feelings of anxiety and fear, and to truly connect with our highest version of ourselves, and also just the tools, the awareness, the community that allows us to keep doing this type of work, keep evolving and growing, so that we can show up most powerfully for ourselves and give our gifts to the world. So in your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Aho.
All right. So I think we should take a minute, just like you said, you're going to let everybody just say hello. If they want to share something real quick. Do you have something they want to offer them to share?
Yeah, I would love to hear your name and one thing that you love about yourself.
Cool. Sounds fun.
So we'll go around, we'll unmute you. And before we do, I just want to say, welcome to the very first Turn It Up with the Tarnofskys.
Oh, yeah.
Tarnofskys. I said Tarnofskys. Before we had a series called Keeping Up with the Tarnofskys. So that's
kind of our alias name. We like to be like the healthy, happy, conscious version of what everybody sees the Kardashians doing on TV. So that's one of our running jokes / inside things. So welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family.
You're now part of the Kardashian crew, but this is Turn It Up with the Tarnofskys. And this is all about getting your life elevated to that next level and coming to a place where you can really understand maybe the way you are, what your life is about, and how you can really inspire everybody around you and yourself to go to new heights.
Yeah, and this is an evolution kind of thing. So you get to evolve with us, and we're going to be constantly talking about new topics. So if there's a topic that interests you, make sure you reach out to us and tell us what that might be, because we will be doing this multiple nights during the week so that your evenings can be full of personal growth and personal development. If you're spending it watching TV or going out drinking and it just doesn't feel right for you, this might be where you want to be. So we're creating the space for that.
For sure.
So let's start with Joellen. I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, and you all can either feel free to turn your videos on for this, or you can just leave it off if you just want to do voice. Whatever you feel comfortable with is totally fine.
Yeah. So Joellen, are you there? Can't hear her.
She may not be by. She might just be, walking around the area too. Sometimes people put their computers on and just listen as they move around.
Mm-hmm. I know also sometimes when you join from an iPhone, you have to do a separate thing to connect your audio. So, Joellen, if you hop in, feel free to tell us one thing that you love about yourself. Our other friend who's on here that we can't see your name, are you there? Can we hear you? You are unmuted.
Hello.
Hey, who do we have here?
Hey, are you talking to me?
Yep.
We are.
Oh gosh, this is Patty.
Patty!
I love
Patty.
y'all. I love y'all, and I love your baby.
Thank you so much.
We'll make sure he debuts in a little bit after we're done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yay. And I love me. I'm funny. That's my good thing. I'm funny.
Ooh,
awesome.
That's good.
That's a really good one.
That's probably to me, that's one of the greatest attributes a person can have is to be funny and really inspire joy and laughter in themselves and people. So
Yes,
that's really cool.
Absolutely.
Yay.
The highest vibration.
Yeah.
So good. Love it, Patty. Thank you so much for your insight. And we love that about you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, Joellen sent a message. She said, I can't make my microphone work. Oh, shoot. Well, if you get it, maybe you can type it in here and we'll read it.
Just tell us one thing in the chat that you love about yourself, and we will announce that. Because I know that there's lots of things you love about yourself, Joelle, and you're an amazing woman.
Yeah, we love you so much, Joellen.
And in the meantime, I said, oh, cool. She said she's fast.
Wow.
So she said, good thing about me is my compassion.
True.
Ooh, that is definitely on point, because when I met Joellen back, I don't even know what it was now. It was probably maybe 05, 06. You can correct me, Joellen, but
a long time ago.
That was the way we connected. Her heart was so compassionate, so loving, so kind, and I'll never forget, actually having that connection time with you. You were one of the few people that were in my life that really, truly had that deep compassion and love. So I appreciate that about you so much. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. That's so Joellen, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, well, I'm going to put everybody back on mute, and there we go. So what we're going to do, we always want to make sure that we acknowledge you and see you anytime we do these, because we feel very blessed that you took the time to grow and evolve yourself. That means so much to the world. It means so much to us. So we just thank you all for that so much.
Yeah.
So we're talking about generational self-doubt and generational self-hatred and how it's passed down from person to person, mom from her mom, from her mom, from her mom, dad from his mom, or, well, could be from his mom or from his dad. So that passing down through generations.
Yep. And what exactly would you say is self-doubt, self-hatred, just in the moment, and then looking at it from a generational standpoint?
In the moment, it seems kind of like black and white. Like, do you hate yourself or do you love yourself? And it's really not. It's full of so many intricacies. So there can be self-doubt that is present in your career. There can be self-doubt that's present in your love life. There can be self-doubt that's present in your body and the health of it, how it looks, everything. In every single part of your life, there's different, and even within that, there's little intricacies of where you could have self-doubt or self-hatred.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that everybody has it to some degree in most ways. And we don't even know it's there. There was a quote that I just put up recently that she said that it's sort of like, we don't know it's even there because it's so deeply integrated into every person we meet. So it's you don't recognize it because it's just everywhere. It's running rampant. And it's time we start paying attention to it and seeing it and acknowledging it and healing it, because if we don't, then we just keep passing it on and passing it on. And we all are here because we want the world to be a better place. And we want every generation after us to be blessed. So this healing of the self-hatred is, it's so big.
And I think depending on how you look at this world, in the prayer, I was saying sometimes this world is a test. And I think we come to this world, in my opinion, to really overcome these deep inner issues. So sometimes it's we'll pass on something from a generation to a next generation because it's up to that generation now to really dissolve that away or really change that pattern.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, that might be what we came to Earth to do, to really break through something that's like super intense, like a self-hatred issue or self-doubt. And so if we're not doing that work, then we really may be missing a lot of the purpose of our mission on this earth and our mission for our personal mission. So that's really what I choose to believe, what Steph believes. And so that's on a deep level, that's what this is about. But even just on a functioning level, like a day-to-day level, this kind of stuff shows up, and it can really be a sabotage to, like Steph said, your business, your relationships, your family dynamics, your health. It can be all kinds of things. And so it's really important that you have this awareness. And I think as you were talking, I don't know if you want to go any deeper in what you were saying.
I can, or
what's coming up for me is, I think that I was going to ask you, I know a lot of times people don't maybe have full awareness of these two specific things. And I know we're going to talk a little more about some stories and experiences we've had in our own lives to give a better illustration. But is there like maybe a way that you define self-doubt or this self-hatred enough that you can help people maybe see it? So it's like, obviously it shows up in a business, it shows up in a relationship, right? And there's different forms. Like we always say, there's always like, when we do dating relationship, people will tend to date the same exact person over and over again until they figure out the right person for them. They'll date the same exact person just with a different face. So they'll get a new boyfriend or girlfriend every couple months or every few years, and they'll have the same issues popping up, right? But the thing is it's a different face because it's a new person, but it's the same issues because they don't heal something that's going on in the relationship or within themselves that's attracting that kind of relationship. So this is the analogy I'm using for this, is that a lot of people see self-doubt and self-hatred in other aspects of their life, but they don't realize it because they all have different faces. Self-doubt in a business looks different than self-doubt in a relationship or like in a health scenario. So my point is can we distill this down to like one specific definition of self-doubt and self-hatred? Maybe start with self-doubt if that comes up.
Yeah, well, I think it would be, if you're going to put it as simple as possible, it would be like the presence of anything that's not you, or the presence of fear, or the presence of doubt. Because like you're saying, it's like it falls under many different categories and it looks many different ways.
Yeah.
So it's probably present in a million ways and you're not even realizing it and you're not even seeing it. The easiest way to see it is to say, does this excite me? Does my love life excite me? Does my career excite me? And if it's like a no, then it's like, okay, well, there's a presence of some sort of self-doubt or self-hatred there. And it's a level that you're tolerating a certain thing because of conditioning from your past and the people that you watched be your role models and the people that were their role models, and it keeps going back and back and back. So it really does come down to like the simple fact of how does it feel for you? Like our bodies are so smart.
Yeah.
They're always giving us, our bodies are like the best indicator if, our bodies are the best indicator that we are either in alignment with our soul or not in alignment with our soul purpose, like the reason we were born. Your body will tell you if something feels good or doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It's a vibe, it's a feeling. Have you ever felt that before where you're just like, it doesn't feel right, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's where we get ourselves really caught up. It's like, well, but the other person wanted me to do it, so I'm going to do it. They invited me to dinner tonight and I really don't want to go, but I'm going to go anyway because I told them I'd go and I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want them to think this of me and blah, 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 blah. And anytime you're doing that, you're denying yourself.
Yep.
So it's always going to keep...
you're doubting, in that scenario, you're doubting yourself.
Doubting yourself.
Because you know you're not supposed to go to dinner, or you know you're supposed to do something much more powerful, but you're doubting that what you're deciding or what your body and your mind, your heart's telling you to stand for, you're doubting it because you don't want to disappoint somebody.
Exactly.
And that's a pattern in itself. That's just one example of, many.
Yeah, I think the way you said that is doubting the self. There's a doubt that what you feel you're supposed to do is right.
Yeah.
And it's never wrong. Like, we can make it easy in that way, that like what you feel you want for yourself is not wrong. The desires you have, the things you want to do, the people you want to be around. If you are around people and you're like about to go hang out with them or see them or go work with them, and you're just like, God, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
That's you and your soul telling you something. You're not supposed to be there for some reason, or it's supposed to shift and change in a certain way, but like something's not aligned.
Sure.
So our heart and our soul is always going to guide us towards our mission by making us feel a certain emotion, feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And if we doubt it, we've been taught to doubt ourselves. We've been taught to trust the people outside of us, right? Listen to what your mom says. Listen to what your friend says. Listen to what your husband says. Listen to what your wife says. Listen to what whoever the school system says. Listen to what the doctors say. Like, all of these people are telling you how you should live. And the more you listen to them, the less you listen to yourself. And the more you deny yourself. So that's where we start getting ourselves really confused, or we start getting ourselves sick, or we start getting ourselves into relationships that aren't right for us. Or we start getting into a job that is also not right for us. And let's just take a quick second to get back to the whole purpose of all of this, that you were born for a reason, with a purpose. And that's what you're supposed to do every day. And your soul and your desires and your feelings and your body is going to tell you how to do that. But we're so conditioned and so taught to doubt that voice of our body, the voice in our mind, the voice of our heart. Maybe not. The voice in your mind is usually the conditioned mind, like the ego mind. So maybe not the mind, but listen to the voice of your heart, the voice of your body, the voice of your soul, the voice of your spirit. And
it's good. I like that. And that's a very high overview level of this experience of what we're talking about right now. But it's really good that you can paint that bigger picture and see, like, on a deep soul level, what we're here to do and how this is going to line us up with having this awareness and start to give us more direction in our lives towards our mission, who we interact with, making choices, and give us the power to really follow that intuition, that heart. I also look at this, on a smaller level, on a more day-to-day level. Even it's like the other part of this experience, which is so powerful. We want you guys to write this stuff down, as little notes, or even just type them on your phone, computer. The other area of this is that many times, you're in a relationship, you're in a business, you're in a scenario with your health or whatever it might be, and these little past conditionings are popping up, and they're making you do things or act certain ways that aren't serving you, even though the situation you're in is really great. So that's the other aspect of this. What Steph was saying, there's one aspect where we're taught to ignore or bypass what our soul or our heart's telling us to do, because we don't want to.
The soul.
We're doubting ourselves. We've been taught to doubt ourselves and always trust our parents, authorities, whatever it would be. The other part is, when you're doing your soul's work, a lot of times you have that self-doubt that you're right. And when somebody else comes along who's trying to help you, but they trigger some of this conditioned issue to create more doubt in yourself, you do things that have sabotaging behaviors. And we'll talk to a little bit about that from some of the experiences we've had as well. But it's like there's two sides here. So there's one way of just knowing how to just step into it, trust yourself. The other issue with this is around self-doubt is a lot of people will just start acting funky because they don't have awareness of they're actually doing that. They'll just start doing really weird things or shutting down. I know, Steph has a conditioned way of being around me because I'm very similar to her father's energy and her father's way of being. And so when I don't approve of her and her perception, she acts so weird and acts just almost like different Steph than But the truth is that typically her ideas are genius and they're brilliant and they're gorgeous and beautiful. But if I say something to her in that energy of disapproval, which is me just maybe asking a simple question, it just shuts her down. And so I'm not even trying to disapprove of her. I'm not even trying to ask her to go a different way. She just gets all frozen. And she's not activated.
Frozen.
And so we can talk a little bit more about that. But it's just to illustrate, there's kind of two examples of this higher level experience with self-doubt. And again, doubt, if we just distill this down into doubt doubt is really not having full belief in yourself, full belief in what you're either meant to do or what you know is right for you or somebody else around you, and just second guessing that. And there is a fine line between doubting yourself and knowing when you need to stay back and just observe and watch for a little bit and then maybe take action. And you can feel that. There's a very high level concept we talk about is feeling when it's right. Feeling. And a lot of people will say, it's not the right time for me, but what they're really saying is I'm too scared to do it. Versus like when you need to sit and you're in a season of waiting, and maybe in a month from now you'll strike and go, get that prey or whatever that analogy is you want to use. So this is where we really want to start to kind of help you define the different areas. And this is a lot of what we do in the coaching that we work with our clients on, is just helping them to define these different lines, these different seasons, these different ways of being. I think the other, I know the other topic we're kind of bringing to this is this self-hatred.
Yes.
So if we could address that for a second too, that seems to be an area you work a lot with the women with is like self-hatred. So what does that look like?
Self-hatred is more of a belief or a conditioning to not like yourself as a whole or specific parts of yourself. So it's not liking how you were made, not liking who you are, not liking how you act, not liking how you speak. And this resonates so much with me. And I talk about this so much because it's so close to my heart. Because like before I started this personal development lifestyle, I hated everything about myself. And I honestly would speak and I'd talk to someone and then I'd be like, I hate that I said that. I hate that I'm like this. Why do I keep doing this? Why? Like, just like consistently beating myself up for everything I did. Every conversation I had when I was out, every person I talked to, every guy I was interested in. Why am I like this? Why doesn't he like me? Why can't I be different? Why can't my boobs be bigger? Like all these things that I would like pick out about myself. Why can't I be thinner? Why can't I like all of these things, like just consistently finding problems with myself and not liking how I was made and who I am. So self-hatred is just, it could be as a whole. You don't like yourself as a whole. Like, who am I? Why did I get this body? Why did I get this mind? Why did I get this like human suit to live in? Or self-hatred can be certain parts of you. Not liking certain parts of your body, not liking certain parts of your personality, not liking certain parts of whatever. And the first thing that we always say about this is that you are not broken. You are not made wrong. You are not flawed. You are made perfect. And
so true.
You're whole. You're complete. You're exactly who you are and how you're supposed to be.
100%.
The issue that a lot of people run into is that they spend so much time and energy not liking what they were given because they think they have to. I thought I had to. I thought I was like, I couldn't like this body because all the bodies I see, growing up in magazines and movies and everything, all the girls have huge boobs. And I had like super, super flat chest. And so I was like, how could I love this? Like, this is ugly. This is disgusting. How could a man love me? How could, all of these different thoughts and feelings and emotions, because I was taught that it wasn't beautiful and it wasn't right. And something was wrong with me. And the more I came into this realization, like, holy shit, nothing's wrong with me. Like, I'm actually made right. The more I fell in love with certain things like that, that made me really unique.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's, self-hatred is like, it can be a lot of different things. But I think when you ask yourself the question, like, what it is for you.
Yeah, like really what you don't like about yourself, what you feel you're not good enough in. Like for me, I used to have a lot of self-doubt and self-hatred around business. Like I would not think I was good enough in business, and then I would talk to businessmen and I'd feel like they weren't receiving me, and I would just think, oh, you don't know enough, you're stupid. And I was like hating on myself for not having the credentials that I thought I needed when I really had it all the whole time. I'm amazing at business and everything I do. And so I can definitely relate to that. Even just from my own perspective, there's different forms of this, and I think both of these topics we're talking about, which is self-hatred and self-doubt, they kind of feed each other.
Yes.
When you don't like something about yourself, you start to doubt you're good enough. And when you doubt you're good enough, you start to hyper-focus on things you hate. And the biggest issue we see with people is that many times when we're doing this, when we're thinking this way, when we're feeling this way, when we're being this way, we don't realize it, but we're actually radiating that out to people. So we're giving these like almost subconscious ways of being that other people pick up on. And people that look up to us, people that trust us, sometimes it causes them to adopt those beliefs or feelings or patterns. And it's very interesting how, and we're going to jump into stories about this real quick, but it's very interesting how much it's so undiscussed in our society. And I think we always talk about it. At least for me, my perception is the world talks about this stuff so naively. Like I can't tell you, I can vividly remember always hearing growing up, people say like, oh, he's just like his daddy. Not to me, but maybe my friends or something. Or they'd be like, she's just like her mom. And it's like they see it, they observe what's going on, but people tend to look at it from like a good perspective, which is great. Let's keep the glass half full. They're like excited they're like their mom, or excited they're similar to their dad. But what is not being analyzed or acknowledged a lot of times is when those younger people are messing up in life, nobody's pointing back to the mom and dad energies, not necessarily their fault, their energies, and saying like, well, you're just like your mom and dad here, right? Or you're adopting this belief from your mom and dad there, or maybe grandparents or a teacher or whatever it might be. And so, and this can get even bigger because sometimes generational means from a collective ego. So maybe like a school system taught you some really fast, backwards thinking that just doesn't, support the big thinking.
Or religion.
Yeah, even religions can mess with you big time. And again, nothing wrong with any of this stuff, but if you feel like there's some controversy and paradox in your experiences from those, like I know Steph's religion growing up as Catholic pushed her away from God. The whole purpose is to bring her to God, right? And so it's like, there's so many nuances in that. But the point is like, that's another example of generational like self-hatred and really creating self-doubt. Because we all know that the purpose of being here is just to be loved and to feel that love and feel God's love and really radiate that to people. That's what we all want.
Yeah.
So I think like seeing that in this way we're breaking it out, it's important to be able to understand that those two different things and how they kind of feed on each other and seeing them, from the past moving forward. And I wanted to tap in. Joellen just said, she had a really good comment. She said that she's been conditioned to be very careful, very practical in all of her decisions, and that both of her parents, who are super wonderful, which I don't doubt that because she's a mate. Joellen's like the salt of the earth. But intellectuals in general don't really encourage her way of adventurous side, in that she really needs them to be that type of encouragement. And that's such a good point. Like analytical mindsets tend to not always have the awareness of like this massive dreamer vision, which can really work. And I think there's nothing wrong with having a perception of being safe, but if that gets passed down to be overly critical about being safe, then it makes us hesitate and doubt when we need to take those steps of faith that, God or the universe, whatever you believe in is calling you to do. Most people will say, oh, I don't have enough money. My parents told me to be smart with my money. Or, oh, I don't see how this is going to play out properly. I shouldn't leave my comfort zone and be safe. And I stay like tucked in, right? And it's like, usually I'd say 99.9 times out of 100 with the coaching we do, when we help people identify those places that they're retracting back in because their past conditioning, their parents' conditioning, their school conditioning, their religious conditioning has asked them to stay tucked in. The minute we identify that and we really say, hey, this is what's happening, you see how you're just not stepping into that, as Joellen said, that adventurous side, that dreamer side, and you're not doing it, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. And the minute they step into it, boom, like their entire life just goes skyrocket.
Different people.
And people ask us all the time, like, how do you get your clients' results that well? Whether it's weight loss with Steph, whether it's, actual financial and business stuff with me. I mean, we see people have miraculous, crazy results in our coachings. And it's because of that. Love stuff. Yeah. Love life, attracting the right relationships. Like we see massive changes because when you get out of your comfort zones and when you stop doubting yourself and you stop hating yourself, then you stop attracting these energies. You stop getting all the bullshit in your life. And that's what really makes life like fun and expansive and big. And again, there's nothing wrong with people living in their comfort zone. Like I know a lot of people that are very good at being in a comfort zone and analytically approaching things and building great empires. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's like when we start to see problems popping up from it, when we start to see ourselves not getting the results we really know our heart's calling us to get, that's when you determine, oh, it's time to get my ass off the couch, out of the comfort zone, whatever it is, stop making these decisions based on old beliefs that were being taught to me.
Yeah, or when you don't feel good.
Yep.
Like something as simple as like moving your body and making healthy choices most of the time in what you eat.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people think this is such a hard thing, but really it's so aligned with what you're saying. It's like the more that you find these patterns and let go of the patterns, then you drop back to your natural self, which has motivation. You were born with motivation to make healthy choices and want to move and want to eat healthy things. And you're born with the thing inside of you to have like, this great relationship and all these good things. But when it doesn't feel really good, that's a good indicator that you have patterns and layers of doubt and self-hatred that get to be removed.
Totally.
It's really big. So thank you for asking that question, Joel, because or at least presenting that comment. Yeah, making the comment.
And being vulnerable to share that. That's huge.
Yeah, because honestly, like the reason we decided to do this is like having conversations in our household, like our household conversations are things like this.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people telling us that they wish they had more of this in their life. So we're bringing conversations like this to you on like frequent basis every week so that we can be talking about more of these things.
Yeah.
Our life is like one giant breakthrough. Like we're just always like, let's talk about this. And oh my God,
we keep supporting each other and evolve, and we identify these things. It's like being able to tap into that and go. Like we're our own support system and mastermind.
Exactly. We're constantly growing. Yeah. We're constantly evolving from the conversations we have. So I'm glad you all are here for this. And
I'll read the rest of the minute.
I was just going to comment on the one you just read though.
Okay.
Because Joellen was saying that she has an adventurous side. And so it sounds like, a lot of times that adventurous side just wants to come out. That's a big part of you, but the other part kind of stifles it, making it feel like it's not valid.
Yeah, and that's part of that self-doubt or any kind of even maybe self-hatred, and they really do. They're like brother and sister, peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
But not in a good tasty way.
Really quick, I have to say this too, though. Self-hatred sounds so harsh. But like, don't let the harshness of the word deter you from what we're talking about. There's nothing wrong with you if you have self-hatred.
I mean, sometimes like I don't want to do these live streams because my hair doesn't look the way I think it should look in my head, and then I doubt that I'm going to be cool in these live streams. So like, it gets to be as simple as that. That's self-hatred,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's affirming what you're saying. But.
I mean, it is. Like before we started, I wanted to put mascara on, and I just didn't. Yeah. So.
It can be as simple as those little nudges.
Tiny things can be tiny things or big things.
Yeah.
So what were you going to say?
Well, that was it. But I was going to kind of take us into the next phase of really what I think is most important to share is to give some real life examples of this so people can really feel it even bigger. And maybe one of the biggest breakthroughs you've ever had, in our coaching, and I don't know if it feels aligned to talk about it. We can go a bunch of different directions, but I was going to illuminate just a quick story, maybe 2-3 minutes on the breakthrough you had, whenever you finally were realizing that, you were a lot of your generational experience came from your mom, and you had been looking in the wrong places for a little while, and then you realized with your mother, and you had no idea because she was actually your best friend. So it was actually like this weird paradox.
Yeah.
Your mom's your best friend, but yet she's giving you sabotaging behaviors because she didn't know any different.
Yeah, and that is the thing. It's like sometimes in the most unsuspecting places lies the things that we most need to heal. So diving into this stuff, asking these questions, talking about these things, listening to these things can be really heart-opening and life-opening and like set you on the right track to where you really want to go. Because for me, a lot of I thought that a lot of my trauma and a lot of my stuff had come from, let me take this back one step. So if you've ever done any of my courses or programs, you know that we definitely dive into the beliefs that your mom had, the beliefs that your dad had about specific things. And then also like your role models, coaches, leaders, people in your life, right? So you start taking a look at like, what did they believe? And what did I start to listen to growing up? What did I start to watch? What did I start to absorb? And it's a very helpful tool to be able to like see different stuff like that. But for me, I had always like gone back and had gone through different things and seen different things in different ways. Had a lot of like processing to do with my dad and a lot of healing to do around that. One thing I didn't look at that presented itself was...
Well, you didn't look at it from that angle. You know, yeah, it was a different angle you checked out.
Yeah, true. So I don't know, like, tell me how you see this, because I want to describe it, but I want to make sure.
Well, I think what I was really getting at it just is that, you know, in Steph's identifying where her generational self-doubt came from, was that, you know, she was taught growing up that the way you act around a certain energy, a masculine energy, which is her dad, her father figure, is to be very submissive and very like shut down if they're not in agreement with you. And she, you know, this came in the form of Steph's mom was always like that because she was just kind of fitting that typical mold of that time period where, you know, Steph's dad was a leader of the household, and when he got upset or frustrated or anything, you did not speak, you didn't like, you know, talk back, you didn't stand your ground, you just kind of like shrunk in, right? And it wasn't something that I'd say was even a reality for Steph, seeing that was what she was doing ever. But as I mentioned in the beginning of this, when Steph and I got together, there was a lot of times I would get annoyed or frustrated or something, and she'd go into like a deer in headlights mode, frozen. And I was like, what is going on with you? Like, I just want to communicate and figure out what, you know, what's happening here.
And I didn't know what was going on with me
either. And I'd be like,
just
say something, talk, just speak. I'm not going to hurt you. Like, I love you. Like, I want to help you. Right. And she would just be like, I don't know. Nothing.
Couldn't talk.
And so, you know, we spent a little time figuring this out, but eventually what we finally realized is we thought, you know, for a little bit that Steph needed to heal some relationship issues with her father, because she did, you know, maybe the aggression of her father whenever he was like that, which he's a super nice guy, but, you know, we're all humans, right? Would set it off. And so we thought, okay, if you heal that wound with your dad and that like, fear of that masculine energy, perhaps you would be fine. So she did some work around that, and it did help a little bit, but it never really like took care of it, right? So then fast forward a little bit later, and Steph's mom comes to hang out with us for a while. And we all started doing some of this work and this conversation. And we realized that Steph had literally learned from watching her mother this deer in headlights thing. Like, there's some women out there that when a man challenges them, they just come at him. They don't mess around. Like, yo, bro, chill out. You don't need to speak to me that way. There's some women who will literally take the more the verbal intensity. For some, it might look like a verbal, you know, abuse. Some of it might just be a verbal intensity, whatever level, and they internalize it. They feel really bad or they shrink away, right? And so Steph's mom, she's such like the most happy-go-lucky, like optimistic person in the freaking world. I'd say, you know, like the way that she radiates sunshine is almost like unfathomable. It's so like intense. And
whoa. It is. It's amazing.
And even think about her ever. She just never wants to be confrontational. So she's not even entertaining the fact that maybe when her husband gets a little frustrated and just like then some frustration, she doesn't even entertain it. She kind of just ignores it. But in that, she never really deals with it either. And when she has self-doubt, she lets that moment of him just kind of like put more doubt into it, and she kind of shrinks away. So Steph saw that growing up. So the moral of this whole thing is that, you know, a lot of, even in coaching, a lot of people will spend time trying to heal the relationship with the aggressor, but they never really look at maybe just the subtle energy of what was being passed down of how the person they looked up to was reacting.
Yeah, like what else was happening in that moment.
Because Steph was always somebody who was very much like best friends with her mom. Her and her mom were like this, and they still are, you know? And so if you've ever seen, what's that movie? Daddy's Home. With Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. It's
Daddy's
like,
Home 2.
Okay, yeah, Daddy's Home 2, yeah. When like the dads come to visit them, and like It's this cute. It's like Will Ferrell runs up to his dad and like kisses him in the airport. It's like that kind of like loving joy.
My God.
Yeah, it's freaking hilarious. The visual, I hope you all have seen that movie. If you haven't, you should watch it because it'll make you laugh at that scene when they like run together.
Yeah.
But the point is that, Steph was like best friends with her mom. And so she mimicked everything she did. And so the way that she learned how to deal with masculine energy was to go to deer headlights look, or just like, just run away and not handle it. And like, I'm the kind of guy that I can be intense. Like you all know me as a very mellow, sweet, genuine person, but I still have an intense energy sometimes when I talk, and it would trigger Steph. And honestly, in all honesty, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I would trigger Steph for no reason. Meaning that I didn't know she was doubting herself. I was just expressing myself in maybe an intense way that wasn't a negative way, and she would perceive it as like, I don't approve of you, I don't like you, and it would trigger all this self-doubt, and she would drop into this freak out mode. So, her being able to understand where she actually got that patterning from, which is her mother, allowed her to now recognize it and step out and stop being that deer in headlights when maybe a man, because other men would trigger Steph too. I've seen this happen. Men that don't even like know Steph, weren't even talking to her. They would just had this intense energy, would trigger her.
Yeah, it's a certain energy that reflected the energy of my dad when he would get upset about something or not be approving of something.
Yeah, it was as simple as like we would go to an audition in Hollywood. She was doing some modeling and acting, and if the director was very much like, okay, do your thing, go. She'd just like freeze.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Just do your thing.
He's like, Josh would be like, who's that? That's not my wife.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening right now.
Who's that woman?
And I couldn't like control it or help it. We don't necessarily need to change who we are to like make somebody's life more easy or anything. But it's important that we understand the dynamics so we can just change our perception of what's happening. So in Steph learning how to understand where her patterns come from, she can then talk to her mother and say, hey, like, what were you doing when dad would do this? Or what was I doing, when dad would do this? And I think the more important thing is like, what Steph really got to heal and got to break through was that, her mom would let her dad talk to her in this intense way too, and not do anything about it. So Steph also saw this energy of like, I don't have any like worthiness to stand up for myself, even though it wasn't.
I don't deserve to be, or I deserve to be talked like that way. I deserve to be treated that way.
Yeah.
Which of course, again, is never, well, in my case, it wasn't the intention of my mom. She's a sweet, loving, wonderful woman.
Yeah. Well, and even the conversations with your dad were typically just him wanting to make Steph a better person. He was never like actually angry.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You're just like maybe showing some disappointment that you got a bad grade in school.
And a lot of times that's the scenario in people's lives. So if you're like, well, my dad was actually horribly mean and my dad was actually physically abusive or anything like that, it doesn't make it right what they did, but it's the same scenario where they're doing it actually if you really got down to the deepest place, they would have been doing it to help you because they love you, but they did it they were playing out a story of generational patterning. They watched somebody else act that way out of love, and then that person watched the person before them act that way out of love. So it's just passed down that this is love.
Yeah.
And it's not, and that's where we get to this point of where we are right now, and we get to say, it stops with me. You see, you're self-exhibiting those habits in some way.
Stops with me.
It stops with me.
Yeah. And it's really important to see it that way, that like, there's no right or wrong, because some families actually talk very intense and strong and they like talking that way. Mm-hmm. And some families like to be very, reserved and chill and like never confrontational. There's nothing wrong with either of those ways. But again, when you are in a place where you feel bad when those things are happening, or you don't feel like your normal, radiant, happy, joyful, as Joanne said, adventurous self, that's when you know some shit is wrong. And you need to figure out either why you can't be that yourself around those scenarios, like why you allow yourself to shrink and doubt yourself and maybe hate on yourself, or you need to understand, like what you're doing in certain scenarios to perpetuate that even more and resolve that.
So we'll talk about a couple of things, 3 specific things that you can do to heal generational patterns.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to do before we go into that?
I'm just wondering if I had another story I wanted to share about my stuff real quick. Let me think. Give me a second. That might help somebody really see this even more.
While you think about that, I'm going to say this, that something that I really want to make sure we point out to create this very healthy way of dealing with generational patterning is, number one, there is no reason to place blame on other people for what happened before you. You can feel angry. Your emotions are legitimate. If you feel angry or sad or mad or abandoned, or like, how could they do this to me, or why would they do this to me, or why didn't they stop it at them, it doesn't do anybody any good to try and change the past. The past is the past. The past happened. The future can be changed. But what's really going to serve you is, how can you find peace with it? How can you find forgiveness? So this isn't really about going back to somebody. And I want to be really specific that when I saw this pattern, I didn't go to my mom and be like, how could you, like, you made me feel like I am unworthy, and everything had happened because of you, and my life's been hard because of you, and all these things. I didn't do that, because it's not her fault. Like, she's not to blame, and she didn't have bad intentions, and it's not about that. It's that, like, she learned it from her mom. Her mom did that same thing, and then her mom's mom did that same thing. So it's not, there's really, like, finding blame there's no use for it. There's no good that can come out of that. But what you can do to be productive is say, cool, well, now it's been passed to me and it is with me. So how do I take steps forward to let it go so that it stops with me? It ends with me. I thought you'd like that.
That's our running joke. But Steph had his title tonight.
I was going to call it
Self-doubt and self-hatred that ends with me. That was going to be your title for this break. And I was like, that was like a Lifetime movie or something. You're being a little too intense right now. But
I was like, you get to name all
I like your
all the things from this point forward.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's a Lifetime movie.
I love your passion. That maybe some people want a Lifetime movie. I don't know.
Well, I know a lot of people are going to be saying it ends with me.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's a good slogan, because that is the thing. Like, it's not your fault that you received a lot of this junk, for a better term, or a lot of attention, but you damn well better know that it is your responsibility to change it. Like, it is straight up your responsibility to change it, and that's what I think most people don't know. Most people aren't being getting that tough love from people like us who really want to see them change. They're just willing to either perpetuate it with them, or they're willing to let them shove it under the rug because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good to do it, to do the work, the inner work to change it, right? And like, that's what Joellen said. She's really trying to turn this around for her, being more adventurous in the face of analytical people that aren't supportive.
Awesome.
And, the doors have opened for her, she's saying. Then she has to get past the self-doubt and just do it. I think that's really what I'm saying, is like that it is your responsibility to do it. And that's also the power and also the value of really great support, of having a community, of having coaches that really, like, hold you to that commitment to break on through. Because so many people don't have that in their lives, and they try to do it themselves. And it's, like, so powerful that you are here, Joel, and to, like, really talk about this with us to get the momentum to break on through. And that's why people hire us as coaches, because we're here to make sure not only do we help spotlight those, because everybody has various things that they do in this scenario we're talking about, but not only that, they actually take the action too. It's one thing just to know this stuff, but it's a different thing to actually take the action. Let the heart lead and trust it, right? So I don't know if you're ready. I was going to jump into some of the three things that I think are most powerful for resolving this and what people can do to really start this journey. Because I know that not everybody's on here tonight, but we
have a lot of people who are who signed up for the recording.
Yeah.
So,
and who really want to, like, make this a lifestyle shift. This is gonna give you some good, amazing traction to start. And again, it's all about never hesitate to reach out when you really feel like you just don't know what to do or where you are. But I think Steph, for the first one, Steph has the cue of acknowledgement, or like analyzing and understanding what it is that's going on.
Because
actually having this awareness.
If you don't see it, you can't change it.
Yeah.
And if you don't see it clearly, let's say that if you don't see it clearly, because maybe you see it, but maybe you don't see it clearly, like what it is, where it came from.
I think the biggest thing is just showing up for stuff like this and doing this work.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, I want to define that real quick. When you hear Steph and me say that do the inner work, a lot of times we'll say that in our live streams, or we type that on our posts, we're doing the inner work. What we mean is things like this, like show up, pay the money, get the information, you know, make sure you're actually stepping into a place, or go to that support group, or, you know, hire a coach, or take time to do the reflecting, the meditation, whatever it is for you. But a lot of people don't look at paying $10 to get this information as the inner work, but this is the inner work.
This is it.
This is like the transmutation that's happening, and the way we're talking to you, and the information we're giving, and just the vulnerability you're showing up in. This is starting to like shake things up and illuminate.
It is literally changing your nervous system. It's changing your cells. It's changing you from the inside out, just to absorb what you've absorbed so far. So know that the change is already taking place, but it is your job to continue to do it.
Yeah, and I think the most important—
keep showing up to it.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that I see is like having the awareness. Most people don't really know what the awareness is about what's happened in their lives. So they end up in a space where they just kind of like, they know something's funky, and they know something's off, and don't really take time to get the awareness, to understand the awareness, right? They don't really go and like kind of be like detectives and figure out what it is. And even like Steph, you know, we've been coaching people for a while, and you know, you're always evolving our own selves as a coach as you go forward. But like, you know, most of the people that we were coaching with are trying to help heal her relationship with her father, which is amazing. And that was some powerful stuff too. But nobody was looking at the other side of the mother relationship, you know, and what that was doing. And the same thing for me. I had those exact same scenarios. And so, you know, it's important to always be doing this work and always be evolving. And so taking the time to analyze. And you can do this, I'd say start by analyzing or acknowledging like where you're not happy in your life, where things are getting quirky, like that bottleneck's getting stuck.
How do things feel in each specific area?
Yeah, how do they feel? And you can even look at sometimes the physical. Like I'm even referring to like outcomes not happening in your life.
Yeah.
Like if you have a big project that you're wanting to put out there, you're like, I know I'm supposed to be doing it, but there's never enough money, and I'm always, you know, dealing with like having to pay bills to get by. There's probably some self-doubt involved in that.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you're giving a presentation or something, and you're like, okay, it's going to be awesome, and then it bombs.
Yep.
Same thing, same scenario. There's something from the past that didn't let you express yourself fully.
Yeah. And so taking time to spend with that and really figure out, it's great. It's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
A beautiful idea, because taking time to reflect into like, what went wrong there per se, and not from like a self-defeating mindset, but just like
from love.
What would I have if I executed this from like knowing how I'm supposed to be or who I came to this earth to be? What would it really look like? And paint that picture. And spend some time, you know, drawing that. Hey, I totally nailed it on stage. Hey, I'm working on my big project right now. I'm doing it. Like maybe spend some time journaling on that stuff and painting that picture. But then also acknowledge like what didn't go right in those moments, or what's not going right now, and start to analyze like, do you see that pattern with people in your past, whether it's your, you know, mother or father, whether it's your like teachers or grandparents, you know, whether it's your people, if you grew up in a very religious experience, like where did you get these beliefs? And having that acknowledgement and that awareness, you can then choose. When you have that kind of awareness and you see it, you get to choose, do I want to accept this? As Joellen was saying earlier, do I want to accept this practical mindset right now? Or is it time for me to just go big and walk in faith? You know, as they say, go big and go home, or go home. Mm-hmm. And like, you'll actually know when you're being practical and when you're being a badass and stepping out of that and just going like full on walking in faith. And so it's knowing how to navigate those waters. And that, again, that's why it's important to do the inner work. That's why it's important to have the coaches. That's why it's important to have community of people that give a shit about you and want to see you do those things.
Yeah.
So big.
And let's also highlight that you said, you know, you're not doing like, if you're looking at the scenario where you pitched something or you wanted somebody to receive you a certain way and they bombed, as Josh said, it's not analyzing it to pick it apart.
Yeah.
It's analyzing it from love. And you guys know this about us, but we do everything from love. We believe in everything should be from a place of love. And the way that looks is you're looking into this thing that didn't really end up working and asking, why didn't it work?
Yeah.
Because you love yourself enough to know that you get to feel how good it feels for it to work. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you were to just let it go and be like, whatever, I bombed, it was horrible, like hopefully next time goes better, you're holding a lower standard for yourself than you deserve.
Yeah.
You're saying it's okay that it didn't go so well and I'm just going to let it be kind of terrible and hope it goes better in the future. Not, I'm going to make a change. Hi.
You can walk over here and unsee the J Bay real quick if you want.
Okay. Hi.
This is my mom. And Jonathan. Hey, this is Steph's mother.
Hello.
You're on camera. You look great. Thanks for doing your hair, man.
Yeah. Really good.
You got a little diaper?
Yeah, we got a diaper situation.
He wants milk. He smells milk.
Yeah, he's like, milk. There's milk here. Bye. Diaper situation. He's looking at me like,
what the hell's going on?
But you're by analyzing it out of love, you're doing a service to yourself, not a disservice, a service to yourself, because you're saying, I deserve to feel how good it feels for this to go well for me, for things to go really well.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, I'm the kind of person that I can actually like walk out of bombing on a stage and like naturally just kind of analyze it and move forward and do it again the next time. So there's different ways of doing the inner work for people. So it's really what Steph is saying is it's number 2 here, and this is step number 2 of really moving into this, is make a decision, decide to really make the change, to really change that. I'll shut this door real quick.
Okay.
Oh, J-Bay, what are you doing? Like, wait, what did I do? Decide to really make the change. And so like for me, when I step off that stage, if I want to make sure this, I'm going to be like, boom, 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 boom. When I do, maybe I saw a person in the audience that made me feel like fear, just one person, because maybe it reminded me of like somebody I used to fear in my childhood, right? From like a teacher or whatever. So that caused me to clam up, and it's like total BS. So I might just do that, but I'm going to decide in the future to start doing the inner work about that now and move forward. And it's like deciding to do the inner work, to commit to making a change. For Joellen, it's deciding that when you feel that little nudge, but you want to be intellectual about it and like kind of keep your safety zone. It's like, I got to trust the nudge. I decided to notice it's time to move forward and always hold myself with my feet to the fire, so to speak. And like this deciding for me is also like doing the inner work, deciding to commit to this process and not just like pushing under the rug. So I don't know if the word decide for you, what else that brings out.
For me, decide means brave, courage. Like it takes that inner strength that you are born with to say, I'm going to do something about this thing I've seen that I can no longer unsee. Yeah. That's the thing about this topic. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yep.
It's like, now I see it and it's an issue and it's a generational problem. So.
Yep. And it new problems can become generational problems too. So it's important to deal with those now, not let them fester, because some of the stuff we're talking about may come from 3 or 4 generations back. Some of the stuff may come from just like present day, and this is kind of a silly example, but even like,
let me get the chart.
Yeah, present day politics, are going to create some new, we all know there's some like tumultuous things in our politics right now, going to create some new separations and like ways of being in the world and for people. And so that's going to create a new path for generations to come. And again, nothing wrong with politics, nothing wrong with people's opinions, but if we're all not operating from a place of total love for ourselves and on the regular, like that's where we start to see a lot of generational issues pop up. So moving forward, we still need to be doing this work to know that we're not creating our worlds to be separated. You need to move the computer.
Yes.
Okay.
You guys want to move with us over here? Come on over. We're coming over here.
All right, I like it.
Here. And we will go to step 3.
Yeah, so step 3 is really about taking the action. And we talked a little bit about this, but it's really about you know, once you've decided to do this and what you've decided to do, it's like now you really got to take the action and do it. And sometimes that means taking the action in the moment, as what we said with like Joe Ellen's example. When you feel like it's time to just be adventurous and go, like call it up, call yourself up, you know, call your coaches, your accountability partner, your group, whatever it is. Call your son up. You know, you've been talking about wanting your son to break out. Like when you see those things, like it's important to know that when you're giving your son the space to heal, you're also healing your own self. And at the same time, that's a really powerful thing. When you're giving somebody else a space to heal from something that you know that you're kind of susceptible to give, potentially you are healing yourself as well by kind of releasing that, almost like that spell, so to speak.
Yeah, take a moment with that one.
And then I think also it's important, like doing the inner work that we've been saying. You know, showing up in this live stream is doing the inner work. Taking time to journal and write and see where your mind's working. Today, I, you know, did this. If I was using Steph's example, I froze like a deer in headlights when Josh said, you know, that idea sucks. And I didn't want to talk about it with him. I was angry. Where does that come from? Why did it, you know, and analyze that stuff. So that's what we do is a lot of times is journaling, or even like doing different types of meditations is a really powerful way, because a quick like science of generational trauma. People don't maybe not understand this just yet in our society, but generational trauma tends to get passed down energetically. And when we say energetic, it's not some woo-woo stuff. It's in the nervous system. When somebody yells at you, when they're like, "Hey, you're stupid," you just instantly right now have a response. I'm sorry. Hey, I love you. See how, this is a prime example. If you hug for 60 seconds, all energies just totally like turn into like love, right?
Like that rule.
I'm gonna try to let you back. But you know, if somebody says that to you, a lot of times your body is gonna like feel this jolt, right? Yeah. You felt the jolt?
No, I did. Yeah, I actually felt it.
I was just trying to use the example.
I knew what you were doing, but I still couldn't help. Yeah.
But it's like Steph has a conditioning when she thinks she's stupid, and she's like, "Oh God, I suck."
Yeah.
And it's not. So it's like the meditation can a lot of times start to heal the nervous system, especially if you can hold that vision in your mind of like what happened, and then release that energy.
Yeah.
So that's a really good way to take action. And again, you know, Steph's like famous for her inner child meditations. She takes people back to the childhood moment when these things happen, and like totally just dissolves away that tinge, that stab feeling. So I don't know what else comes up for you that's action taking.
I mean, like you said, it's like here's probably the biggest one for me is be open to opportunities to heal it. So if you're not openly acknowledging being open, it's kind of like a prayer where it's like when you sit down before you eat a meal, you're going to stop for a second and say a prayer in order to acknowledge the food in front of you and say thank you for it and expressing gratitude. It's the same with like anything you want to heal or change. It's like you have to be willing to take a step back for a second and say, I really want to heal this thing inside of me. Maybe close your eyes, hold your hand on your heart, hand on your stomach, and you know, I'm ready to let go of this stuff. I'm ready to make a change. I don't need to know like exactly how in this moment, but please present to me resources to do it.
That's a really powerful one.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then when the resources come, then you do step number 2, you get brave and courageous, and then you take that action and consistently do it. It's a practice. It's not a one-time, why am I not fixed?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a consistent thing.
That's an interesting point. I'll drop that. Is a lot of people come to us and they have these like new awarenesses or these breakthroughs, so to speak, or these aha moments, right? And then they're like, okay, I'm good. And then they don't want to keep doing the work. But that's the thing is like, you don't
not that they don't want to do it. Keep doing it. They don't know to do it.
Well, I mean, they're just not trained. Yeah, they're not conditioned to know that this is work that keeps going. So like what I'm about to say is going to make sense is that when you go to the gym, they teach you how to bench press, or they teach you how to squat. They teach you how to do sprints or whatever, right? You don't just do those one time for one session and your body is perfect, like, you know, perfect the rest of your life. Like you still keep doing those things to maintenance the body throughout, you know?
You work the muscle.
You don't go to yoga just one time and learn how to stretch and then you're stretching. You know,
yoga is a practice. That's why they call it practice.
Yeah. So this is the same. This is a practice. And Steph, like, I love what you're saying about these actions. And just to recap them, you know, there's journaling, and identifying like the area and really deciding to take the action and figuring out where they came from. There's also making sure that you, when you acknowledge what's happening in that moment, like the example Joellen gave, like I should take some action, but I don't feel like I have the support. That's when you got to take the action and go and physically do the thing. There's meditation, which is getting into a state where like you actually recall that moment and you release the energy from it, or you just meditate until your nervous system really feels healed. Mm-hmm. And then there's also, what's the other one? There's also, like Steph said, just being open, asking for guidance, asking, to receive the divine guidance and where to go. And then there's also the fifth one I say is like making sure that you're willing to have the conversations with the people you need to have them with. If your parents are still around, have that conversation with them when these things come up and figure out where it's coming from. If they're not, then you can also, always talk to other people, like coaches can help you identify those patterns and really flesh back through it. But the key is like, don't be afraid to do this work. Don't be afraid to step into it and show up on things like this to learn other ways of doing it. And I think when you look at this as a gym analogy, it's an ongoing process, right? I think that's the most important thing. And Joellen wrote perfect timing with J-Bay, cuteness bomb. Dude, you're right about that. He is like, and that J-Bay is a prime example, okay, of how pure he is right now, coming in this world. And it's a big part of mine is Steph's job to make sure he stays in that state through his entire life. And of course, he's going to learn things and grow and have his own opinions. But like, our job is to set a container where we're doing this work ourselves and taking action ourselves to make sure that he can be a cuteness bomb whenever he wants, and always be a powerful leader and always be like, when he does have any tinge of self-doubt, he's just like gone. He always loves himself. And that's our goal. And, Joellen, you said something powerful here. You said, I don't want my son to feel like he can't let go in his own way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's so important people take action.
Yes.
And I love you for saying that. Yeah. I appreciate you acknowledging that. It's such a beautiful, powerful intention and desire, is that like you really see this and you really want to see him fully activate. So even
you have that power.
Yeah.
You do have that power.
Yes. And here's what I want to just tie it back in with is that when, we talked about all this self-generational issues and et cetera, it's kind of coming down through osmosis. It's almost an energy more than it is like a lot of times an actual action. Sometimes it's in an action form. It comes and we watch it. But the way it comes down to us and gets programmed in our nervous system, as we just talked about, same thing happens when you take the action. You teach your children and your family, your friends to take action as well around you. Mm-hmm. You be the example. Yeah. You shine your light. And so thus, even if they in the beginning are like, what the freak's going on? Because a lot of people, you're going to challenge their own operating systems, right? Their own way of being. They're like, that's not my Stephanie. That's not my Joshua. I don't know who that person is.
Yeah.
But the more you're doing this, you're operating in that place, you're going to reprogram them, or with your children, you're going to actually program them properly.
I always use the example of my mom. We're talking about my mom a lot today.
Yeah, but she's cool that we talk about it. This is
a conversation we have with the whole family. Yeah. What she is amazing at is she used to work in an office, and she would take in my recipe for superfood smoothies, and they're green, like dark green, cool. Nasty green. And the people in her office would always be like, what are you eating? Like, why are you eating that? Like, gross, like disgusting.
Yep.
And the way that she handled it, I always thought was just the most beautiful example. And she never said, you need to drink this smoothie. It's so good for you. It'll make you healthier. Like all this stuff. She never said, you need to do this. Yeah. She just was like, I love drinking this smoothie. It gives me tons of energy, and it nourishes my body. I love it. And that's it. She just put it there. Yeah. So I think that's a great example of what you're saying. It's like, be the example, show how great you feel, show how great your life gets, show how amazing things can be just from being you. And people are going to start coming around and be like, hey, and that's what ended up happening is people would be like, hey, can you give me the recipe for that green smoothie?
Cool. Yeah.
So people will come around and be like, hey, what is it that you're doing? And then you can share and help them.
And it starts to really just like inspire everybody around you. Inspires you to keep taking more action.
Yeah.
This is good. I'm loving it. I'm so glad. Grateful everybody's here tonight.
Yeah.
And those of you that are going to be watching the replay, like I'm really excited for you to continue to be on your journey and do this work. And I love the community we're building. It's just fun to me. Like, this is so magical for us to be these game changers, these trailblazers in the world, doing this work, setting the future generations up for like massive success.
Yes.
To
So
be in a massive loving level.
yeah, and we invite you to evolve with us and be a part of this like transformation and constant evolution that we're doing. And we're going to keep doing calls like this, keep doing coaching like this. And you're so welcome to bring topics up to us that you would like us to dive into more.
Yeah, that's great. I think the best way to do that is send us messages on Facebook
or Instagram.
Wherever you maybe come from. I know everybody's got different social medias these days. Facebook or Instagram. And just shoot us private messages like, hey, can you all do a session on this? Or can you get some information around this? Because it helps us help the collective more. You know, just trust me on this one. If you're going through something, there's a lot of other people going through it too.
Yes, or have gone through it.
Yeah, or are on the other side of it now.
That's why we do what we do, because we've gone through it and we can help.
Totally. So yeah, it seems like everybody's feeling complete here.
Awesome.
And
you want one more cuteness bomb before we go?
Ooh, that'd be pretty.
He might be a hungry cuteness bomb, but we'll see.
Hope you're ready. Maybe I should have a packet waiting for him.
You just have one.
He usually has like 5. Don't let that comment. He has one to or distract you from the fact that Jacob eats like 5 of these at a time. He may not look that plump.
Say hi, Jonathan. Well, Jonathan, say hi to everybody.
Wow, making a bubble. That just happened out of nowhere.
Oh my gosh. He's like, you guys, I'm confused. Okay, I'll eat your food.
And his little eating face is so cute.
Oh my god, it's the cutest. Is that good? Said it's good, but you're gonna have to feed me milk now.
What's about a farm?
Delicious.
We feed him these. These are better than actually getting a smoothie from a place like Whole Foods because they're cold pressed
and organic.
And they cost the same price. Buy 3 of these and just go for it.
Did that taste good?
We've been eating them, as you can tell.
Tasted good.
Can you say banana? Banana?
Oh, he knew.
Banana.
You're so smart. He's like, now open it. Thank you.
Banana.
Do you want to eat this? More? Okay.
Hey, those don't open that way.
More.
Okay.
Well, guys, we had so much fun with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Joellen says transformation power.
Boom, boom, boom.
Your family, kiss to you too. Kiss to all of you guys. We love you all so much. You're part of our family, and we're so grateful that you chose to evolve, and it stops with you.
Remember, generational doubt and generational self-doubt and self-hatred stops with you. That's their disclaimer of the day.
That's right. And it stops with me. And it starts with you. And it doesn't go to you.
But, one thing I do want to say real quick before you go. If you've passed on any of this doubt or anything to,
banana,
maybe your children or, good job.
Banana.
Don't feel guilty. Remember,
do not
feel guilty ever. But it is important, once again, to take responsibility and help guide them to do the work. Get them in touch with the right people. Get them on these live streams. Get them in a community of people that want to see them thrive, and really go big with it.
Agrees.
Right, little Buddha?
It's the phrase, know better, do better, right? Like, if we don't know better, we can't do better. So you can't blame yourself or beat yourself up for not doing better if you don't know. But once you do know, then it is your choice and your opportunity to do better.
I love it. All right, you all, have a blessed night. And take a little time, maybe meditate for like at least 5 minutes. Just sit with your eyes closed. If you don't meditate, just sit with your eyes closed and breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. Let some of this stuff sink in. You might even get some what we call downloads, some like ideas popping, like, oh, I should do this with what they told me. Or some new awareness. And just let your body flow because you know what to do. All right. We love you all so much. I don't know how to end this.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, bye guys. Have an amazing night. We love you. Let this transform you.